Ed and Al, what are you guys talking about? Whistling Joe has forced upon you this thing of snake spaghetti.
I gotta say, Edgar, I don't think we would have gotten any information out of him if it weren't for you standing behind me.
Well, we all have our purpose. Yours is to talk loudly. Mine is to carry a big stick.
And that I can do. Whoo, diggity. I say, I prod the snakes in front of me and say, so we could make food out of this, right?
Sure, it's a protein of sorts. I might be able to whip something up. And I go over to them and start stripping the skin off with a small knife.
Make sure you get the venom glands, I say, like, kind of just standing back and supervising.
Yeah. I look back up with a smile. But those are the best of delicacies, cooked to the right perfection, and he does a little chef kiss. That will just set the evening perfectly.
Then they're all yours, my friend. They're all yours.
So about this time, Nix, you're within earshot, and they seem... Do either of you have 12 passive perception?
No.
I have 12 even on passive perception.
Alright, so Ed, you would have heard the approach of a horse. Looking up, you would see a road-weary horse carrying a... And do you want to describe Nix to us?
Yes. Nix is a somewhat short and slender humanoid figure. At first glance, you would think she's human or at least an elf, because she has long pointed ears kind of poking out from her hair on the sides of her face, about where you would expect to find ears. However, as she approaches you, you notice that she is kind of a smoky gray color to her skin, which you realize is actually covered in fur. And she has large feline eyes that are golden. Although the irises are golden, the pupils are still circular, like a human. She has pink nose and pink lips, but surrounding her nose is a white patch, and it kind of extends up the bridge of her nose, goes off towards her left eyebrow, and it kind of stops middle of her forehead. She's got kind of medium length silver gray hair, like a human, although she is very much part cat. Ears, as she draws even closer, you can make out that they are actually furry and slightly striped with a little bit of darker gray. She's dressed simply in a white cotton blouse with a medium-length cornflower blue skirt. She has a belt with about 4 pouches across the back, a dagger on the left, and a holster for her firearm on the right. Her pack is a little unique. It's an Adirondack basket that's kind of worn like a backpack. It's got some things strapped to it, but you can't quite make out exactly what they are. It just kind of looks like a bedroll, coil of rope, and some strange little box underneath. She doesn't wear any shoes. She's treading on more feline feet. Her hands are human with sharp nails, but they aren't claws. They don't really retract or extend, but you can tell that her feet definitely look more cat-like. And she has a long, proportionate gray striped tail. Peeks out from her skirt.
I think as Edgar's taking all of this in, I snap my fingers together, and it sounds like the 2 stones kind of clacking together, and I motion towards Nix so Albert sees. I don't think she looks like one of the brothel workers, but maybe one of Whistling Joel's other visitors?
Well, could be. Nix, you see like a short fox man with huge red ears, and Well, he doesn't have a tweed jacket on now. It's cast to the side because he's boiling in this evening heat. He's holding up a rattlesnake skin and he sniffs it and then looks disgusted and tosses it aside. Ho there!
Hello, sir.
Cat? Person?
Yeah, what does Nick see as she looks into the camp?
Yeah, so he's two big red ears that seem to pivot to match your voice as you approach. He's got nice fuzzy red fur, but regular digits, of course, also covered in fur. Big brown eyes that seem to scope around and see much deeper than you'd think. He's got a short, cargo shorts on with and a box of matches kind of hanging loosely out of one side, a pipe sticking out of the other pocket, along with a notebook. And he has a rather delicate frame. Quite delicate, in fact. Looks like one bite could send him to his deathbed.
How tall does he stand?
He's like 3 feet, probably. He's 3 feet, and he's completely outsized by Edgar next to him.
And I think the Edgar standing next to him is moving quickly despite his more stockier frame. It's very evident that I am a stone dwarf. I stand a bit taller than most of my folk, around 5'5" or so. I have a worn and weathered dark trench coat. You can see that it's been through quite a bit. Dust stains it, as well as a few tears and holes. My pants and shirt are rather dull tones, and they are also kind of covered in dirt and what assumes to be like a stone kind of crumbling of sorts. It's clear that I do not care too much about my appearance. The only armaments that you can really make out is a revolver attached to my hip. I have a very stoic and broad frame. Looking at him, he kind of stands and you can see that his face tells a story. Much like the stones of the mountains and his leather jacket, he is also weathered and worn. But currently, I am moving to and fro, preparing some sort of food, which you can probably smell cooking, as I stated, kind of quicker than what he looks.
As I make my way to the fire, I'm going to call out, "Hello, gentlemen. Are you the ones that are working on the commission? I've been sent here by the HAPD."
What? I told the boss we didn't need anybody else, didn't I? I say, turning to Edgar.
I mean, you did tell her, but we could use the company. Come on, have a seat.
All right. I'm Albert Schnooks, and this is Edgar.
I turn around, clearly kind of keeping one eye on the skillet. I'm Edgar.
Say your last name.
Edgar Hooks. Sorry, I keep forgetting that part.
Hooks and Schnooks.
You can see Edgar visibly kind of roll his eyes.
Hooks and I'll work on that. I'll try.
You should remember the name.
Nick.
Nix. Someday we're gonna be the greatest detectives this side of Harsha.
It's an honor to be working with you on your very first case, I hear.
That's right.
I would say this is my first case, too, especially with the HAPD.
So they put a bunch of rookies on this, huh?
Well, I suppose, but you know what? I can tell that you're the kind that will be a leader.
You hear that, Edgar? Huh?
Yeah,
She says I'm the leader.
Keen
You're
eye.
a very distinguished looking gentleman. You definitely have the look of a professional man.
See? Finally, some validation.
I just nod and kind of go back to flipping a bit of the meat on the skillet.
This gentleman right here, you appear to really you seem to be the the rock of the group. You know what I mean? I think with the three of us, you could just be like an anchor for us, just kind of grounding us together.
Yeah, stone puns. Good, good. I'm glad we're all here in this together.
At this point, Whistling Joe interrupts. It's like, that sounds like she's got you in a rocky spot.
Shut up, Joe.
Look,
I don't mean to insult.
who are you?
I have a way of reading people.
Well, I got a way of reading people too. And what I'm saying is that when my girls are going to be coming around, and I don't want any trouble from none of you. Those luscious lips are mine, and I don't want to have to compete against none of you. That's why Whistling Joe's out here, right?
There's no worry from me, Joe. I've got plenty to keep me company.
The only lady for me, Joe, is Lady Clue.
You're a strange one.
That sounded better in my head.
Yeah, you know, I'm not worried about you, actually. You just do whatever you want. But you, Corin, and you, furry lady, you don't touch my women. And don't give them no more money, because I can't afford to compete usually none. So, alright, please, I'm begging you.
You don't have to worry about me, sir. It's all right. I have far more important things to be occupying my mind with.
Don't worry, Joe. Just go sit back down. We're gonna stay in our camp, and we'll stay away from you ladies. Just
Well,
And delicious rattlesnakes, by the way. Thank you so much, Joe.
oh yeah, yeah. Once they stop biting you, they're pretty good. That's the key, though. You kill them first, and then you try to cook them. Not the other way around. Not the other way.
We'll remember that.
I nod and continue to flip over and saute the venom glands.
So, you from Hershaw? Nix? You said your name was?
That's right. My name is Nix. I'm from a couple of places. Originally from Harshaw. Where are you from?
Well, Hershaw, born and raised. Couldn't tell by my accent.
I could. What about you, Mr. What was your name again?
Edgar. Yeah, Harshaw area, a small ranch just outside of the city limits. My family used to own it. I lived there most of my life.
Well, we got a bunch of Harshaw natives working together. This ought to be a piece of cake.
I like her already, Edgar.
I'm sure she'll do just fine. I'm finishing up the evening food if you're hungry, and I'll motion to the food.
I will definitely partake of that. I do love some deliciously cooked reptile.
Yeah, those poison
I'm
not
glands look
cooked.
delicious.
I'm not very
Mind if
picky.
I have one?
Now,
Wait for your
Whistling,
women, Joe.
if we can't touch your women, you can't touch our glands.
Raising.
They'll touch your glands, right? I go to high five Edgar.
I do not high five.
Oh.
Well, okay. Well, maybe I just can have a bite, and then I mean, you know me. I just,
I'll hold my hand up and then just like take one and walk it over to Whistling Joe.
is it
Go on.
Is it actually cooked, or is it just like a?
Yeah, he
is it-
takes one
is
that's
it-
cooked.
what I'm asking is, you have the opportunity to give him one that will poison him, or one that is cooked.
Right, he's gonna give him one that's cooked. It's good to go.
All right. And he pops it in his mouth like a jalapeno popper, and you can see a little bit of ichor kind of running down to the gaps in his teeth. There's not much to actually hold it in. Just like Mama used to make. Well, poor Mama. But anyways, oh, what's that? And his ears seem to be particularly tuned. It takes a moment, but after a brief beat of silence, you can hear wagon wheels approaching. It's a covered wagon, and you can see a particularly busty hobgoblin woman at the helm. She is as thick as a bowl of oatmeal, and and she is wearing a kind of a red, like Southern Belle kind of like full dress. But she's taken it and she's hemmed the long flowing part kind of up to her calves, which are thick and a little bit hairy. And covering it up are thick cowboy boots made of some sort of leather. It may be horse, or it may be maybe even elephant, just something a little exotic. As well as her hair, it's dark, heavy, thick strands, and it's done up in kind of a what would you say? Like a what kind of hair would she be having? I'm imagining like kind of done up with some sort of like things that keep it in place.
Messy bun. A messy
Probably
bun.
like a Gibson girl hairstyle with some curls that fall around the shoulder and maybe a rosette or two in them.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, like a desert. Oh, she has a cactus flower. Yeah, she has a cactus flower in her hair. Yeah, and she's got the rosette just going on, and she's got really broad, strong shoulders. And her eyes are the center are black with just rings of yellow. And she kind of brings it's an ox that's pulling the cart, and she brings it in with a crack of the reins, and you can hear her say, "Whoa now, whoa!" as she brings it in. And Whistling Pete starts walking over, his hat in his hand. "Well, Missy, you came back. Good to see ya. We got company now." And she looks over at you guys, and there's a moment where it's not pleasant. Like she is sizing you all up in the same way a predator sizes a prey up, but then it breaks into
My ears swivel, and I say, "What? Well, how to do there, ma'am? Well met."
Well, how do indeed. It's good to have some company out here. Things can get dangerous.
That's right. There's rattlers out there. If you weren't knowing.
Well, I assure you, rattlers are the least of your problems out here. At which point the ox kind of bucks forward, and she has to come over and put a hand on it and calm it down.
I whip out a notebook as I approach. Ma'am, we mind if I ask you a few questions? Detective Hooks, HAPD. I mean Schnooks. Ah, shit.
Her eyes just squint as she stares down at you. She towers above you at about 6 feet tall. Red, like fur-covered hide, kind of glistening in the sun. And she kind of rolls her tongue around her mouth and spits off.
I'll take that as a yes. Jimmy, when did you say those skeletons were going missing? 2 weeks ago?
Yeah. Well, don't you worry yourself none about that. They'll show up.
Ma'am, where were you at 11 p.m. 2 weeks time ago?
I was working.
Working, right? And your profession?
I'm a prostitute.
Oh, right, of course, makes sense. And do you have any experience in wrestling, supervising, or otherwise handling undead?
Well, and she kind of pauses for a moment. Everybody around working with white sands, and at which point the ox seems to be ill-tempered and shoulder bumps her. And well, I mean, everybody seems to have to deal with him now.
Right. Deal with them now. So you have, to clarify.
Yes.
All right. Will you be staying the night in this area?
She looks over at Whistling Joe, who's got his hands like on the brim of his hat, and he's just kind of like curling the edges over. And he like shakes his head, and then she looks back to you and says, "Yeah, I'll be staying at least one night."
All right. Thank you for your time, ma'am. I say, and I tip my the name of which eludes me at the moment.
Okay.
Tweed, my tweed hat.
All right. At this point, she's gonna kind of squat down to get kind of eye level to you, and says, "You know, it can be awfully lonely out here, and you ever want some company?" And she kind of smiles, and you can see the enlarged canines of the hobgoblin.
Oh, I would love to take you up on that offer.
Reaches out a heavy hand and kind of tries to scratch you behind your ear.
Well, I accept ear scratches. That's for certain.
Wait,
Ooh.
I accept gold.
Oh. Uh, sorry, I'm not. I don't do anything on the job. Thank you, though.
Oh, all I do is on the job.
I look over at Edgar and Nix and point to her.
Nix, in the meantime, has just been sitting here with her tail just slowly going up and down and just giving one of those cat-like gazes where you literally could not impress them more. They don't care. Those watchful cat eyes of...
Just
Go ahead,
indifference.
keep going.
Okay.
Yes.
I have, as you look back for Edgar, you notice that he's not at the camp. I have kind of circumvented some of our supplies and wagon and positioned myself near the back of her wagon, kind of off a bit. I'm trying to peer in and see if there are other prostitutes with her or other compatriots in any kind of thing, like if I can see into the wagon at all.
Okay. Go ahead and make an investigation check. And let's see how those amazing ability scores work out.
-4, baby!
The DC is pretty
That
low.
would be an 8.
Okay.
8.
Because you're just looking into the back wagon. You do not see any other people, nor do you see any kit or gunna that would suggest like more than one person, because you're used to what it takes to travel along these roads, as far as like supplies and personal effects. And you see a small knapsack, like a day bag, and several barrels, but they look like they're kind of nailed shut, and it's usually what provisions are stored in to keep kind of wildlife out. But it seems kind of on the lighter side, and there's a lot of space dedicated to the sleeping area. But you do see a lot of pieces of plants and odd pieces of animals, like it'd be like talons or like a strip of leather and like a few dried berries, and they're just kind of like a lot of them are just kind of tied together so they can be held all at once.
I think he's squinting. Like, I'm just looking into this. I have a handful of venom glands in my palm. I'm like popping them in occasionally like grapes, kind of looking inconspicuous, both surveying the wagon, her, and then the out surroundings for the moment.
You got any questions for the working lady, Nix?
Actually, I do have a couple. Nix gets up from the log and strolls over, but she still maintains a decent distance from the hobgoblin. See, I'm a druid, so I have a soft spot for animals and such. What's the name of your ox here?
Her name's Meg.
She looks like a fine animal. And you look like a fine woman.
No, you don't
How
need to
long have
lie
you
to
been
me.
traveling?
You don't need to lie to me.
I ain't lying.
She takes a deep breath in and exhales. I'm sorry. I had to put on a bit of a face, you know. I do appreciate that. Thank you.
We all have to wear different faces at different times, don't we? Kind of keep that true part of ourselves hidden.
Well,
You know, there are some who would say, for a lady like yourself, that is quite the asset to be able to be a woman of mystery.
it's something that has served me well. I can't lie. But there are times where I wish I could just...
Well, And you and I, we could consider ourselves friends, and then we will agree not to wear masks around one another. Does that sound agreeable to you?
Friendship isn't something that's just given, it's something that's earned.
Well, it is where I come from.
Well, if you earn my friendship, then yes, I can see that.
Well, I'll tell you what. I consider you my friend, and I'll let you decide at your leisure what you think of me.
I appreciate that. It's tough to find people like you out here. Most of the people I work with are more like Whistling Joe over there. He's just so caught up with himself that he never takes the time to get to know anybody else.
But sometimes there are those of us who can see beyond just the shallow facades that we all put on. It just takes someone perceptive enough to see it.
Well, you gotta be careful when you go looking for things. Sometimes you find stuff you don't want to see.
Have you found much like that in these areas?
Oh, all the time. I mean, you should have seen the place just at the down the railhead a little bit. You think Whistling Joe's a mess? You should see the guy down there.
So, I just gotta ask because, I'm just trying to unravel a bit of this mystery that's going on around here just because, it's obviously, it would be much more convenient if we were able to run the trains as normal. But seeing as how that's, interrupted, I'm going to gesture towards the tracks. Perhaps somebody like you, you're a local, you've been here a real long time. I'm rather new to the area. Are there any people or other beings that you could think of that I might need to ask? Because you'd be the person to talk to, I think, around here. Because as you said, Whistling Joe, I think his name is, he's a little self-absorbed.
Well, ma'am, what is your business? I don't even know your name out here.
Well, my name is Nix. It's nice to meet you. I take an interest in the land.
My name's
Sorry?
Belle. And she gives kind of like a little bit of a curtsy. It's an odd
Nix returns that curtsy.
gesture coming from such a robust, and it's a combination of like robust like muscularness and voluptuousness. She's a full-bodied woman.
Nix returns that, but because she's so feline and graceful, she makes it a rather shallow curtsy so that it doesn't come across as show-off. Because you get the impression by looking at Nix that she could easily curtsy and then probably do a front flip and a handspring and then, land on her feet afterward.
I'm imagining like a gymnast kind of build for her. Like
A little bit, yeah.
Like really kind of sinewy and long.
Not super muscular. Though.
Yeah, not super muscular.
She has a -1 in strength, so.
Yes. Nix, what is your business out here?
Well, see, I take a special interest in the land, and since there's seems to be some sort of plant life being disturbed around these parts, it's kind of my given duty as a druid. I'm one of nature's guardians, so I'm just wanting to know why the plants seem to be upset around here, if you know what I mean. I understand our lives are rather different, so you might not understand the background of a druid, but it's just kind of my special care that I take. I can roll deception for that.
How are you lying to her?
Because the part that would stick out to Nix is going to be the fact that there is plant and earth involved. It seems like a nature versus technology kind of battle, so that would be a personal interest in it. However, she does have this professional interest in it, but she's trying to keep that a secret at this point.
So she's hiding the fact that she's part of...
Yes. 18.
18. So she rolled a 17 in insight. Well, so you're out here, you're concerned about plants? Are you one of those traveling scholars or
nature.
something?
I'm something of the sort. I consider myself part of one of Guardians of Nature.
Is that an organization?
Well, no, it's a faith. It's more of a faith.
Okay. Well, it's none of my business to judge. What do you? Yeah, I've been up and down these rails, working them for the last 3 months. What did you want to know?
I just wanted to know when about this started, and you started noticing, this kind of stuff going on.
About a month ago, when I started to get into the flat land territory, kind of moving out of the hills of the north. Listen, Pete's been saying that skeletons have part of his crew, Skelly Boys, he calls them, have been disappearing, and that he didn't really know what was going on. That the plant problem seemed to be worse around here. It seems to drop off in other areas, and they haven't been reporting, well, at least not to me, any kind of disappearances. He
All
said
right.
he was worried about there'd be some sort of skeleton gang, and that they were gonna come kill him or something. Anyways, it was a lot of rambling.
Any idea where that idea would have come from?
She looks over at Whistling Pete, and she looks back at you. I am scared to imagine
That's
how
enough
that
said.
man's managed.
I understand. I know. I've only been here a few moments, and I got his size. But from a female to a female, I just got to ask you: is there any place in a nearby town where I might purchase some perfume? I just thought you'd be the one to know.
Yeah. In fact, when this rail line's completed, they're working to connect a town called Abilene. And
Abilene. Oh, wonderful.
they're known. They got the most beautiful flower blooms during the summer, and people have been known to take them and distill them down, make some mighty pretty smells out of it.
Well, thank you so much for your time. I'm not going to pester you with a bunch more questions. That was it. I thought I would get, your opinion on something, because I've been on the road for a while now, and I'm starting to smell worse than. She glances over towards her fox friend. Dog.
He looks over. He's got like half-eaten rattlesnake hanging out of his mouth. He's like, what?
Right.
And then he looks back and just continues eating.
She'll reach out and pat you on the shoulder and said, "Oh, darling, don't worry about it out here." And she kind of leans in and does a little bit of a sort. If you just don't knock them out with your smell, then you're ahead of the game out here.
Well, that's actually some real fine advice. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
She gives you a wink and then
And
says, "Oh, go ahead."
Nix is just gonna stick out her hand and offer to shake her hand.
She shakes your hand, and there's a warmth there that wasn't there before, and she follows it up with saying, "Well, if you ever do find your way down to Abilene, then look up Rose. She is a client of mine, and she runs the perfume shop down there."
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And I'll tell her that you sent me especially. I'm sure she'll be mighty pleased.
Yeah. Well, I have business to attend to. She kind of smiles.
Of course, I understand. I'm not going to take up any more time. Nice to meet you. Remember, you can consider me a friend. Then Nix will just turn and walk back to her place on the log.
word friend makes her pause. She doesn't really know what to do with that word. But then she turns back to Pete. The mask comes back on, and you can hear her. This is as they're walking away. "Oh, I heard you've been doing well out here. Look at your skeleton, your crew. They're doing so well." And he's like, "Yeah, I got them. They're doing great out here. We clear so many plants, you wouldn't believe it." And they kind of walk off.
Albert regards you as you walk up. Well, looks like we got a silver tongue over here.
I'm sorry about that little look that I gave you earlier. I was just trying to make a joke.
No.
It didn't go over too well.
Well, by all means. I'm not sure what you were saying, but it was probably regarding my odor. But anybody who talks that long with a suspect is all right in my books. You glean anything important? He says, taking out his notebook again while he's still gulping down the rattlesnake.
Well, since we haven't had a moment to compare notes, I'm not sure how much y'all have found out, but some of this might be old news to you, but it was new to me, so Things
much.
began around here about a month ago. So it's relatively recent, all of this interference. I'm trying to think of what
All right.
else might have been important in that. But I did kind of strike up a friendliness with her. She was hesitant to call me a friend, but I consider her a friend, at least an acquaintance. So I think we can count on her if we ever have any other questions. At least I can be the one to pose them.
So you don't think she's suspicious?
Not really. She seemed like she was pretty honest.
Yeah, all right. Honest.
We can, if we uncover more information, we could carefully plan some questions that I could ask her later. So the important thing for me at this point is just trying to establish a timeline and most importantly establish some trust.
Oh, you give me a lead, and he taps his nose, sniff it out.
I think Edgar has kind of been like standing off to the side, listening to the two of you discuss things. I'll be honest. It's quite impressive what you pulled off there. So, good job.
Are you guys talking next to her wagon
Thank you.
right now?
No,
I thought-
you
No,
moved
I've gone
to the
back to
camp.
sit by the fire.
Oh, okay.
I pop another venom gland in my mouth. I didn't see much back there. Various plants, fixtures, normal traveling stuff. I'll be honest. It gave me some shamanistic vibes, a bit, dried out things, regents almost, rather than traveling materials.
DM, is the wagon still sitting there? Like, is it just still? Is she parked, basically?
Yeah, the wagon is sitting there. The ox is tied up, still in its yoke, and Belle and Whistling Joe have gone to more clandestine location, leaving Camden.
And leaving the wagon intact? Are they inside the wagon or have they left the area?
No, you last saw them walking over a hill to the north. And Whistling
Okay,
Joe was
so the
like, "I got
wagon
the
is
perfect
unattended.
Spot all picked out. You can see the starlights. Your guys look so pretty." And then, yeah.
After she ascertains that they're well out of sight, Nyx will spend 10 minutes to ritual cast Detect Magic. And when that is active, she's going to walk over and look at the wagon and its contents. Without going into it or touching it, just using Detect Magic.
So Detect Magic, wording is pretty specific. It has to be a visible magical item. So if it is within a box or otherwise concealed or invisible, you would not see that. So I feel...
It's, I believe it's specifically within a barrier of 1 foot of wood, 8 inches of stone, or 2 inches of metal.
It says for the duration, I can sense the presence of magic within 30 feet, and I can use my action to see a faint aura around any visible creature or object in the area that bears magic, and learn School of Magic, if any. And the spell can penetrate most barriers, but it is blocked by 1 foot of stone, 1 inch of common metal, a thin sheet of lead, or 3 feet of wood and dirt.
3 feet?
Mr. Stranger's saying everything on the cart's 3 feet thick. No, I'm kidding. So going through, you can see one of the boxes has a anamorphic glow, red evocation magic, low intensity harness on the. The ox is yellow with transmutation, and it kind of seems to be bleeding into the ox. There's also some yellow on the tarp. Same thing. The canvas over the top has little bits of like yellow, kind of almost like a residual kind of thing. There would be little bound pieces of knickknacks and whatnot. Have a variety. It's like a bit of a rainbow, and it's also that kind of residual magic. It doesn't come off as magic itself, but it looks like it had been used for magic.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I like to run detect magic a little bit like it leaves a visible scent. So, like, if magic is cast in an area, it kind of resides in it for a little bit and then slowly fades, for over time.
That's nice.
And so you do see
like
some of
that.
that fading energy in a lot of the stuff.
Okay.
But the stuff inside the box is not fading. It seems to be innervated. It is evocation, and then there is some handbag with some black, as it is infused with necromancy.
Necrotic.
Yeah.
Okay, nice. All right, so then I'm going to slip back to the fire, and I'm going to relay all of this information to my partners here. And as I finish describing everything that I saw, now we have a choice here, gentlemen. I could sneak into the wagon and inspect these items, but then we run the risk of losing the trust that I just built. Do either one of you feel, and she kind of glances at the fox specifically, sneaky enough to...
Albert's shaking dust out of his boots. It's like, oh, give me a second. And he, puts it back on. What? You said there was transmutation on the ox? Should we interrogate the ox?
Well, I mean, we could, but I'm a little bit more interested in the handbag with necromancy since we're dealing with, the undead.
Oh, all right. Yeah. Yes, just like in my imagination. Let's do it.
All right. Well, I'm gonna have to pretend to be completely uninvolved in this, because if she catches us, if she comes back and catches us, we've completely ruined all of our future chances to talk to this woman in a polite and friendly way.
That's all right. Whistling Pete strikes me as a man who likes to take his time.
His name is Pete now.
That's what the DM's been saying.
It's Joe.
It was Joe.
Well, okay, then we're going with Joe. Whistling Joe seems like a man who tries to take his time. Edgar, you distract the ox. We'll sneak around the back. You give me a boost, and I'll get that, whatever it is. Where'd you say it was?
It's in the wagon, right, DM? I would have seen this, so.
Yeah. What specifically were you?
I'll just relay direct instructions. The bag that contains the School of Necromancy object.
I nod,
Then,
and look over towards the oxen. If I see something, I'll just do one of my snaps. You can recognize it, point it out. You'll be all right. Just get out of there.
You got it.
And I'll saunter off up towards the front.
Wait, I got it. Hold on. So he doesn't suspect a thing. I clap my hands, and I use Nathir's gift to make a body double of myself to stand next to Edgar.
All right. So how does
I think Edgar
is it like swirling winds, or how does it manifest?
I just clap, and then pop, he appears right next to me. And my double looks at me and says, "Hey there, handsome." Well, thanks, handsome.
I think Edgar squints, raising one eyebrow. Yeah, so the ox doesn't think anything. Right.
Right. So I added another owl to the map.
Okay. Excellent.
the ox has some transmutation magic residual on him, so we're not sure if he really is an ox at this point. Your job is pretty critical.
All right.
And
Totally noted.
And Albert, I'm not sure it's going to be wise of me to boost you into the wagon because I'd have to walk back there, and I might get spotted.
Is it at least less than 3 feet to the entrance?
Well, most typical wagons, just out of character here, most typical wagons have a metal step set that hangs down low across the back that would, if we're talking a typical Conestoga wagon type
Albert's
right.
from the city, so he just has no idea
I
what's
imagine,
going on.
I imagine he fishes through his bag and quickly pulls out a grappling hook and some rope and is like, "I got this."
And I'm going to continue kind of talking to the illusion
Okay.
of Albert, so that the actual Albert can get away without really being noticed, and what he does.
Illusion is on autopilot and only saying, "I love rattlesnake," and by golly, gee willikers.
Okay, and as you're doing that, Nix and Ed, you hear the cursing voice of Whistling Joe as he's coming up the hill. Dadgummit, I forgot the thing. I gotta go back and get it. It's just such a pain in the ass to walk all. And he kind of like walks right through the middle of your camp. And let's give him a perception check for 15. He looks over. I like snakes too. And it's just kind of like a bit. He seems like he's pausing for a second, like he's kind of thinking about investigating what's going on. What would you guys like to do?
So I'm going to take the initiative to go walk up to him and see if I can strike up a conversation. Excuse me, sir. I've been told that you are the gentleman to speak to in these parts. That you are, how they say, kind of the head honcho.
Well,
Is
I
that true?
fancy myself a boss.
All right, and then Nix is just slowly going to sidestep to where he's turning him to where he's facing away from the wagon.
Okay.
I love rattlesnake.
Cool. He rolled a 5 with disadvantage. He rolled a 11 and a 5, so that drops it down to a 4. So Al remains hidden as you are giving him the help action.
Okay.
Should I roll stealth?
If you roll higher than your passive.
I got a 12.
12. And your modifier? Or is that total?
It's a minus. Yeah, that's total.
Okay.
I have a -1 to dexterity.
So you got 4.
Oh no, I have I have 14.
Yeah, because you have.
Because I have proficient.
Yeah, I fancy myself a bit of a businessman. And he kind of like takes his shirt collar and pops it up a little bit. What's your question, miss? I'm full of advice.
Well, I'm rather new around these parts, and I was just wondering if you could explain to me the purpose of this railway, because obviously you're working very hard to maintain order around here and make sure that the work keeps getting done. So I was just wondering what kind of work that's gonna lead into what kind of business, you know?
Oh, that's easy. The purpose of the railway is the purpose of the railway is to rail the way for trains, because they don't get lost.
Oh.
Without the tracks, the trains would just get lost and wander off like a bunch of buffalo.
Well, that is highly intelligent of you. I didn't even consider that.
Of course
that's
it is.
real smart.
Did you expect anything less?
Are you the proprietor of this railway?
Oh yeah, I own the whole thing.
Did you invent the railway, sir?
I did, and I'm rich.
She looks with the most wide and childlike gaze of awe.
Mm-hmm. I can make you rich too. You want to come back with me to Bell and maybe have a drink?
Well, I would, but I already had some milk for the evening, and milk always makes me real sleepy. So I got to find a place to pitch my tent.
Yeah, well,
I don't think these.
Your loss. We could have been rich. Oh well. And I got.
Maybe I'll take you up on it some other time.
Yeah. Belle wanted her money up front, so I was just getting it, and because last time I couldn't pay. But anyways, good talking.
How much does she charge?
She says she gives me a good deal, and I should be thankful that she even looks my way. It's 20 gold pieces.
20 gold pieces?
Well, I mean...
Well, she must be a mighty fine lady then.
She's worth every silver.
So that gave me about like 5 minutes in the wagon, right?
The wagon is completely obscured. You could hide in it and see what happens, but he has indicated that he will be going to his and not Bell's wagon.
Right. But I'm like 5 minutes to do whatever in the wagon while he's distracted. So I snip around.
Overall, you had about 30 minutes. Got in there, began your investigation, and then he showed up a few minutes afterwards.
Okay. So I snip around. Trying to smell out necromancy.
I would have given you
was
direct directions to what it was in the handbag.
the top left corner. All right. And I like scramble over. Do I see a handbag there?
Yeah, you do.
I gingerly pop it open and look inside with my big brown eyes, both ears pointed towards the center of the bag. What do I see inside?
There's 3 potions. It's a clear liquid, but when you hold it up to the light, it seems to darken.
I'd like to open the stopper on one and like dip my pinky in it and then give it a little taste.
So after tasting it, you begin to experience the effects of false life, and you get 1 temporary hit point.
Okay. Ooh. Don't know when I grew these guns.
I think your total health is doubled now.
Basically. I say, do I know what this is?
Is Al the kind of guy to spend time with the lonesome dove?
Like a lady of the night?
Yes.
No, he's just all about mysteries.
Okay, you can roll a history check to see if you've heard about it, but you would know that this is kind of something really common in the trade.
I got a 21.
21? Shit, son.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the fantasy version of Viagra. False life gives you stamina. Yep.
Oh.
It's more.
I didn't know when I grew that gun.
It's not so much for the workers; it's for their clients. Put it in their drink at some point. It helps them feel like they're big macho men, and they're more likely to come back and be regular clients.
Well, that makes sense. They nab it, put it down, and I go over to where the evocation magic was said to be hidden inside the. Is the barrel like sealed with nails?
No, it's a loose top. You just take it right off. You realize that why the accessibility is there, and you see about 12 bullets.
Can't blame a woman of the road for trying to protect herself. I put the top back on. Can I just do like a general investigation check of this wagon?
Ed, what are you doing during all this?
I've grabbed a bucket full of water and walked over to our lizard and poured a little bit in its trough before going over to where Mary is. And I kind of offer the bucket, setting it before her and patting her on the neck, kind of making small conversation as if I'm, talking to my own steed or what have you. Go on now, drink up. It'll be good for you. And I'll pat her twice on the neck.
It's grateful for the attention and the water, and drinks deeply.
I'm trying to stand in a way to obscure Al's approach in the beginning, and as well as that, every time I'm kind of keeping up that low talk in her ear to kind of hinder her hearing. -3. That'd be a 14.
14. Sloshing in water and your voice, not to mention Al's particularly small size. You can kind of glance out of the corner of your eye as he creeps around, not making a noise, and deftly slips into the back of the wagon.